Okay, thank you. Okay, so first of all, he's a prince of a guy. And you know, Swarthmore is very, very blessed to have Maurice here for quite a long time. So he's part of the reason I got the inspiration to do this. I never tell him that because I don't want to blow smoke up his. But,
they want you to pop into the mic.
Okay, so I'll make it short. We are in a magical place. Swarthmore has its own mystique and its own special ethos and vibration. And I knew that from the minute I got here, and I never lost that feeling. I mean, we have a lot of differences, and it's very weird, strange, you know. Okay, but it's always searching, it's seeking, it's thinking, and it's trying. And this is what I love about it. And it was the thing that made me know it was okay to be weird and smart and thinking and egotistical and also not so self-assured at the same time. And so it was with that spirit that I went on my journey of discovery here. And in doing that, and it was a very tumultuous time. I mean, probably the most tumultuous time in the history of the college. It was really the Wild Wild West. And there was a lot going on, and I, for some reason, was in the middle of it. I was drawn by history into it, and it was a maelstrom of activity and rediscovery. So in that whole time, even though politics was all around me, I was always deeply a music nut. Now, we didn't have music, the musical performing arts culture that it has now. So I was kind of a weirdo that way. I mean, Swarthmore was the life of the mind. It was not that much about arts. There was a music major, but they were way over there, and it was strictly European classical conservatory music. It had very little to do with American culture. But I was still plugged in, and my generation was really deeply into finding music that matters. Music not just as entertainment. This is just in our realm. And then I discovered in anthropology that, oh, there's something called ethnomusicology, where you study music as an expression of culture. And boy, that was all I needed, because I could marry a lot. And culture, society, everything is political, and culture is political. Okay, well, that's good, so I don't have to divide them. I just need to figure it out for myself, is what I did. Then I majored in primarily ethnomusicology. I wrote my paper on the history of black music as a cultural expression of black folks' experience of American racism. And I felt that that was the best way to really see what we were thinking, because otherwise there wasn't much of a record of what the people were thinking and feeling. And I thought, well, this is a great door. And that led me back to Africa, so I wrote this thing, and I got a Watson Fellowship, and I went to Africa to try to retrace the Africanisms from there to the New World. This is before Roots, before they were even acknowledging that black culture survived the Middle Passage, which I did not believe for 1 second. So I went to see about it. And I realized I couldn't write about it except in poetry and music. So I went around with the first Sony recorder, recording in the jungle, and then passing out Crosby, Stills, and Nash in exchange for being able to keep the tape I just made of them singing in the middle of the night, and Marvin Gaye and Miles Davis and the Beatles, and you know, and they were like, oh, wow, and what do we have to play it on? Well, I don't know, that's your problem. Yeah. But I just gave you what's going on, okay? So now, you know I must like you, and now I gotta listen to this, because this is all I got. We can all beat on these bongos in the middle of the night. But I'm not mad at you either, brother. You know, so it was interesting. The long story short, I never lost sight of music as culture. I went to Harvard Law School, following Marilyn Hollowfield and the rest of my mentors, Michael Graves, Sherry Graves. I want to be like y'all if I ever grow up, which never happened. You know? But I was always knew they were going to the right place for the right reason, and if I just followed them, I wouldn't get too far off the trail, because otherwise I might wind up anywhere with my imagination. I managed to finish. I went to Los Angeles, became a music lawyer. Because I was always trying to find music, whatever angle I could find, which I did. But I never lost sight, even in Tinseltown, of the idea that music is culture and not just as entertainment, which meant that I didn't fit in very well at all. But thank God I was a Harvard lawyer, and I was a Swarthmore grad. So I wasn't that interested in what you thought about me. It was more what I thought about myself. Thank you. Okay? And I happen to think a lot of me, so therefore, and even if you've never heard of Swarthmore, it's okay with me. Because I know you heard of Harvard Law School, so leave me alone. All right. So I went in there, jazz, boom. I got into that. I kept going and kept going. Ran into Stevie Wonder. He was like, I like you. I think you should get with me. Okay. He's the biggest artist in the world. I went to work with him. We made the Martin Luther King National Holiday happen. I wrote his speeches. And I quarterbacked it. I ran his radio station. I did a lot of things on the way to Ray Charles. Now, but the whole time it was always getting with artists who saw music as important, music that matters in people's lives and culture, music as politics, Bob Marley, this and that. I was never in there with just finger popping, showboating, grinning, dancing fools, okay? I liked them, dance with them, but that wasn't what I wanted to work with or on. And so, boom. All right, I got to Ray Charles. And then he just laid out the importance of Ray Charles. So I was like, whoa, this is terrible. If Ray Charles passes and we don't acknowledge his importance, then we haven't really done much. It's not about how big the record was, how good you sang. It's like, what was the impact that you had on American culture? And his is as pronounced as any. And I felt, well, I need to do something about this. I know better. If not me, who? If not now, when? I didn't even know Ray Charles. Stevie Wonder, though, was the best man at my wedding and wrote songs and this and that. But Ray Charles was, the generation before me. So I knew his son. I got a friend of mine to bring his son to my house. I said, man, look, I think that Ray Charles, it's a crying shame if we let this happen. And he said, well, my father doesn't really, this is the same kid that saved his life in the movie. My father doesn't really think I should talk to him about music at all, but we have a foundation, and you're a lawyer, so if you help me with that, then I'll get a meeting with my dad. And I was like, well, but I want to talk about what I want to do with the music before we talk about the foundation. And he was like, well, I don't know about that. I said, well, that's the deal. So he said, okay. I went in there. I laid this spiel out on Ray Charles, and he doesn't know me from Adam, but he's listened to this, but it's like music is to his ears. He's like, yeah, oh, wow. So at the end, he leaned back, he looked up at the ceiling, and he said, well, that's all right. He said, so what are we going to do? I said, well, I want to make a record with my generation, the proteges of Ray Charles, who look up to him, who got into music because of him, who wanted to sound like him. We grew up around you, but you never made a record for us. And you haven't made an album in a long time. Let's make an album, so it'll be a Valentine from you to the boomers, and we'll pay homage to you. He said, okay. So then I went to get the artists, and every artist wanted to be on the record. But none of the record companies wanted to make the record. Oh, he's too old. Oh, he's a drunk. He's a junkie. He's too difficult. We don't want to make one record. Blah, blah, blah. 9 record labels turned me down. So keep that in mind when you're running around trying to pursue your dreams. Okay, but I wasn't doing it for music. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for the respect and recognition of black cultural achievement and of black genius, which nobody's going to run around and help you with. Okay? As a matter of fact, you'll be given a polite smile and ushered out the door. Okay, but of course, I don't care about that. I'm from Swarthmore. We're going to do this. And I just kept going. I mean, no. Clive Davis, you name it. No. But I'm just warming up. It's like, okay. All right. Starbucks has a series where Ray Charles is the #1 selling. They have a series of the artist's favorite albums, and Starbucks people love Ray Charles. They decide they like it, but they don't have a record company. They form a record company and go to the record company that I went to that wanted to do it but didn't want to spend the money. Married that together, and thus, here comes the album.
Wow.
But Ray's dying. Well, I knew he was dying, that's why I wanted to make the record. And he's like a prize fighter who keeps getting up off the mat every day and stumbling to the mic and holding on. He can't sing, but these singers are singing for him. They love him, and they want him to have this transcendent moment on the way out, which he gets. But he can't sing like he used to. But they can sing better than him, but they're singing for him, with him. And that's what keeps him going. And so we finish the record, and then he dies, and then the record comes out.
Wow.
But we made it. What my purpose was to make sure he was remembered in history. And then it happened. And then we got a perfect storm. Here comes the movie. And Jamie Foxx, and people get confused and thinks that the soundtrack from the movie is my album, and so everybody votes for it, and we win the Grammy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So all of a sudden, I produce what I say and everything. You know, I got a woman. You know, I can't stop loving you. None of that was on my album. None of it. But I was happy to take the bows for Ray because he's gone. Okay, so this trying to tell you in a way that there's a real story of how Hollywood is a trick. It's weird and it's strange, etc. And I didn't do it for the award. I did it to make a statement for Ray on the way out, and he didn't get, it was kind of like Moses or Martin Luther King. He gets to the mountaintop and he's like, I might not get there with you, but keep going. And so you have to just keep going. Don't worry about who's for it or what you're going to get or this or that. If you believe in it, go for it. And keep going until they take you out feet first. Somebody else, if it's true and good and right, might, deliver. So then I got the thing, Against the Odds. And nobody was like, where did you come from? You haven't been producing it. Don't worry about it. I'm from Swarthmore. Where's Swarthmore? Don't worry about it. Okay? Aren't you from Harvard? Yeah. Okay. But Swarthmore always mattered more to me than Harvard Law School. Really. I wanted to go to Harvard Law School to be able to say I went to Harvard Law School. But I went to Swarthmore because I wanted to experience Swarthmore. And the experience has been profound and powerful. And it really left me deeply affected. And so at a certain point, I realized that what I was doing came directly out of Swarthmore. And that brings me back to the black culture scene. I didn't start SAS. When I got here, I wasn't even that interested. I was on the basketball team. I was the president of the pledge class at Phi Psi. I had all the girls. I was rolling. And I was not unhappy at all. I knew the black experience. I grew up in the segregated South. I didn't need an indoctrination into the black experience either. Okay? I was good. But Marilyn, Michael, Clint, the upperclassmen, they were like, listen, Sonny, come over here. We're going to teach you a few things. Oh, what? What's the problem? Aren't we in heaven? I thought we were in heaven. No, it just looks like heaven, okay? So they took me over in the corner and back behind the woodshed, and I got a fuller understanding of what wasn't happening. And I had a role to play, and since these white folks like you, you're going to be the spokesperson. Oh, okay. But I was not the leader when they were here. They figured it out. They gave me my marks. I was Ronald Reagan, really. Show me my marks, give me my lines, and I'm good. And that's what I did. Of course, I became the poster boy for the death of Courtney Smith later. So be careful. But I was asleep. I was having cookies and milk. What? Okay. And then they left. Wait a minute. Hey, Cisco, wait for me. No, we have to go. Well, I want to go with you. Too bad. You're an underclassman. I got ready to leave. Professor Legesse, the first African-American professor here, he said, you can't leave. They're graduating. you have to stay. If you leave, the whole thing's going to fall apart. You have to stay. Or the whole thing was exercise in futility. I was like, but I want to go with them. You can't leave. Oh, boy. Okay, so now what are you going to do? Well, you got to make sure that what was fought for and we had to stop is implemented. So it fell on me. And believe me, I was not really the most willing leader. But I wasn't willing to shirk my duty. History had come upon me. And I knew that if not me, who? And I better do this or else they're right. And so it's time to grow up. So that's the moment I decided I would grow up. And then I realized I hadn't quite grown up, but I was trying. And so I went ahead and we tried to follow through with the things that had been laid out for what to do. And that was to recruit more black students. And that was to try to get black deans, and then deans, professors, everything. We got everything going pretty good, except their Black Cultural Center. They said, we don't have the money, we can't do it. We want to do it, and it was the last on the list. Why do you need a Black Culture Center? We understand the students. We understand the professors, the scholarship. We understand all of that, Don, and SAS. But we don't see why you need to do that. Well, I'm an anthropology major. Okay. We're talking about my stuff now, culture. So I got to explain this, and then I got to explain it to the underclassmen, class of 73. I got to explain to them, listen, we can't really have the right party unless we have a righteous party, and we need this cultural center to do that, okay? We don't need the party in the lodge. We need our center, and we need to do more than that. So they said, oh, okay, just like I had said, oh, okay, to Marilyn and us. Okay. So there we went. So that became the work. And then we had to do some more political activism. But I didn't want to go back in taking over any buildings, offices, or in the media. I felt like, even though I never saw a spotlight I wasn't willing to step into, or a microphone I wasn't willing to take. But I knew that it wasn't about me. So therefore, I'm not going to be in the spotlight for any of this. I'm just going to put my head down and do the work. I wrote this recruitment brochure, Black at Swarthmore, da-da-da-da-da. But the Cultural Center was important. We needed a safe harbor and a nourishing harbor. Robert Cross was willing. We organized a midnight demonstration, which nobody knew about. The school, nothing. We went to his house with torches in the middle of the night and read poetry and sang as he stumbled out onto the balcony thinking he was Ebenezer Scrooge and the ghost of Christmas Past had just arrived. So he couldn't believe what he thought he was dreaming. And I was in the back, not the front. But I wrote the poems, and people were reading the poems. And then we put the torches out and left and filed off and sing, and nobody ever knew, except him. The next day, he called me into his office. And he said, we're working on it. I said, I know. We don't have the money. I know. The next thing I knew, they called me. They said, James Michener had donated $100,000 for the Black Culture Center. Okay, now that's how it happened. That is how it happened. Swarthmore responded in the right way. We never took the pressure off, but we were trying to be gracious and conscientious in the way we went about it. And it worked. So I just felt that my experience here was profound, and it revealed a lot to me about the soul of this college, that it was willing to do better, that it was willing, because look, they could have thrown us out, they could have put us in jail, they could have done a lot of things they didn't do. And of course, we could have burned it down too, or shot somebody, but none of that happened. So it was on both sides that we really engaged the issues with a sense of special Swarthmorean consciousness and care. And I thought that was fantastic. It was a tremendous affirmation of what this college is and is all about. And so I was always really grateful for that, but I left and it didn't come back for quite a while. But when I got the Grammy, I was standing there, 2 billion people, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm looking at Jamie Foxx, who's looking at me. I'm looking down on Jamie Foxx. He's looking up at me. Who are you? You weren't in the movie and you're not on the soundtrack. Don't worry about it. Jamie. You know? Okay, so when I got it, I realized I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I'm thinking of where I came from first, Florida, Fort Lauderdale. So I went to South Africa for a year, came back, went home. I gave it to the old colored museum because my family has a long history of civil rights activism in Florida. I wanted to honor from whence I came. But, you know, about 7 years in, I realized, well, you know what? Really? This Grammy came from Swarthmore. And they've had it 7 years, 10 years, it'll be 10 years. And I think I should give it to Swarthmore. So here comes Rebecca Chop and Patty Bender when we met at that dinner in Miami Beach, Maryland, when they came down. And I was just thinking, now, you know, they want money all the time, but I really don't want to give them money. I already gave them blood, sweat, and tears. And isn't that enough? You know, and I didn't try to get any credit. And I don't care about that, but I ain't really trying to act like I didn't do anything and now I have to give you money. No, I already gave you something. Your money won't quite. What else can I give you? You can give them the Grammy. Ah. So I told Patty I would give the college the Grammy, and I kept thinking about it. I think I even talked to Sherry Bellamy about this at some point, and was saying, Sherry, how do you think I could go about it? So, you know, it slowly came to me when I was asked to come back last fall and hung out with Maurice a little bit, and we were doing this documentary film. We missed the plane, and Ryan Greenlaw and Josh and those, we came over here, and I was just amazed at how wonderful the Black Culture Center was set up and functioning. Students were here, and I was like, wow, this is what we had in mind. Whoa, look at this. So I realized, okay, this is where the Grammy needs to go. I need to give it to Swarthmore, but it needs to be housed in the Black Culture Center. And it needs to come here because this is from whence it came. I am a product at Swarthmore of a cultural orientation that guided me throughout at politics, cultures, politics, etc. And the Black Cultural Center is the symbol of the legitimacy of what we did and of the black presence of Swarthmore and of Swarthmore's, conscientious opening and welcoming and nurturing of that impulse. 40 years later, it's not weaker, it's stronger, it's better. A lot of that has to do with the deans that came through, Jack Dickerson, Maurice. Okay, but at the end of the day, this is the heart of the college, and it's the soul of the college. And this is what I loved about Swarthmore, even when we were engaged in civil disobedience. And so I think I should do it because I'm tired of looking at it, really. And therefore, let me come and do this. And why not at the 150th when we're celebrating its past? I want to make a statement of affirmation that is unprecedented in the history of the school about the moving forward, the way forward together in a welcome spirit and recognition of black consciousness, of the black presence, but in a universal context of us as human beings and as a community. And this is why I have come here today to donate the unprecedented gift in kind in the history of the college, the first Grammy ever, the highest and best Grammy, to Swarthmore on behalf of the black presence here historically, the Ray Charles Genius Loves Company Grammy as producer of the album of the year. Thank you.
No more words. I love Don. I love Swarthmore. I love you. Let's go forward together in love. Thank you.